Can you make pesto without a food processor or mortar and pestle? Yes, you can, and I'm gonna show you how. It's definitely quickest and easiest to make pesto using a food processor, and using a mortar and pestle is the most traditional, but it's 100% possible to make a passable pesto using just a sharp chef's knife and a bit of patience. And if you're new here, I'm Maggie, this is No Frills Kitchen, where I teach you how to cook with confidence with nothing fancy required.
As with any pesto recipe, or really any recipe requiring nuts, our first step is to toast our pine nuts. I've preheated my oven to 180C 350F, and now I'm just scattering a handful of pine nuts over a rimmed baking sheet. Move the nuts to the oven and toast them for about 4 to 5 minutes, just until they're golden and super fragrant. It's really easy to burn these nuts, so just make sure you set a timer. Now to make the pesto. I'll start with picking some basil leaves. Often, when chopping basil, it's recommended to stack the leaves on top of each other, roll it into a log, and then cut it into thin ribbons called chiffonade. This minimizes bruising on the delicate basil leaves. That technique isn't really necessary here, as in pesto, you kind of want the basil leaves to be bruised. That's why it's traditionally made in a mortar and pestle. So go ahead and chop your basil however you'd like, just make sure it's chopped pretty fine. Okay, once you have your basil chopped, add it to a mixing bowl and move onto your toasted pine nuts. Chopping these is going to take some patience as they need to be pretty fine, but it can also be kind of meditative. Note that it's going to be tough to get everything completely uniform, but that's just a price you have to pay when you make pesto this way. Add the chopped pine nuts to the bowl and then move on. Now I'm going to grate in a fair amount of Parmesan cheese. Again, this is something I kind of just eyeball, but if you're the kind of person who needs to have a definitive amount listed, then make sure to have a look at the recipe linked in the description. If you're more like me and like to cook a bit more intuitively, give this video a thumbs up. Also, grate in a clove of garlic and then season with a few grinds of black pepper and a bit of salt. Be careful on the salt here, just because the Parmesan cheese is also salty and you don't want it to be too salty before you've tasted it. Then drizzle in a bit of olive oil and stir until everything is well combined. I think this needs a bit more oil to get to the right consistency. I'll stir it in and now I'm happy. And that's all there is. If you liked this recipe, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my next videos. Enjoy!